These super scary abandoned places hiding deep-rooted evil secrets are so spooky you may want to watch this with a light on. Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, USA. This penitentiary is often described as a scary and haunted place both for its dark history and reported paranormal activity. It's known for its creepy atmosphere and unsettling history of brutal punishments and solitary confinement. Many visitors and paranormal investigators have reported experiencing strange occurrences, including ghostly sightings, unexplained noises, and feelings of unease. Once the world's most expensive prison from 1829, this Philadelphia facility boasted grand architecture, modern luxuries, and notorious inmates, including Al Capone. One of the first penitentiaries ever built, it combined impressive design and strict discipline to inspire regret and reform in the hearts of convicts. It's also known for its harsh and often cruel treatments of inmates, including solitary confinement, physical punishments, their mad chair, and psychological torment. Since its closure in 1971, the complex has crumbled into a mass of deteriorating cell blocks, which are now recognized as a National Historic Landmark. Eastern State Penitentiary is open to visitors year-round, so go check it out if you want. Lee Plaza Hotel in Detroit, USA. A staggering 60% of the city's peak population has now moved away, leaving behind a living example of urban decay. Its vacant state and history contribute to its reputation for being eerie and potentially really scary. The formerly luxurious Lee Plaza Hotel stands windowless and exposed. It is just one of Detroit's many abandoned places that mark the shocking decline of a major American city. Once at the center of a booming motor industry, the successive blows of economic recessions, competition from overseas, and race riots chipped away at Detroit's early prosperity. Winchester Mystery House in California, USA. A number of employees and a few visitors claim to have crossed paths with Clyde, a mustached man sometimes seen pushing a wheelbarrow in the basement or trying to repair the fireplace in the ballroom. Then there are the gentle tugs of shirts or skirts during tours, and the report from longtime maintenance worker Denny. It's safe to say this place is really haunted. Although damaged in the 1906 earthquake, the house is open to visitors who can actually explore the 160 surviving rooms. Eccentric and extravagant, this Victoria mansion in California is a maze of dead ends, secret doorways, and stairs that lead literally nowhere. Driven by paranoia and superstition, Sarah Winchester, widow of William Wirt Winchester, began building in 1884 and ordered that construction should never cease. In the 38 years until her passing, the residence mushroomed into a labyrinth of architectural oddities, 7 stories high. Gaiety Theater, this is in Zeehan, Tasmania, and this is the story of the Wailing Woman. Now, in a decaying mining town in Tasmania stands the Gaiety Theater. Now, this is a crumbling giant, and it was once celebrated as a cultural hub and somewhere for people to go. Now, it's one of Australia's most haunted theaters ever. Locals whisper of a woman, though, who kind of wails through the night, echoing in the halls at all hours. Now, it was built in the late 1800s, and Gaiety once hosted grand performances, but it fell into ruin when the town's fortunes declined. Paranormal investigators who explore the site today report that, there's a lot of eerie phenomena, disembodied voices, moans are picked up on recording devices as well, footsteps crossing the stage, and just sudden blasts of icy air, so a lot of cold spots there. Now, one very chilling account tells of a director standing center stage when a heavy beam kind of cracked overhead. He felt a sudden shove pushing him backwards, and that was just in time to avoid being crushed, so maybe that spirit was looking out for him. Now, he insisted that something unseen, of course, saved him, and he credited that spirit to saving his life. Now, others describe a protective female energy spirit that scolds trespassers and warns them away from danger. The Wailing Woman is sometimes said to be a performer who actually allegedly passed away very tragically, or maybe a mother mourning a child lost in the mines, but some claim to see her kind of gliding through the theater at times, her cries piercing the silence, moving very slowly, and sometimes just disappearing out of nowhere. Theater tours often report malfunctioning electronics, drained camera batteries, and shadows darting across walls. So even hardened ghost hunters kind of leave this place shaken and don't really want to return. Orpheum Theater, this is in Memphis. Now, this is the ghost of Mary in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, the Orpheum Theater holds one of the most enduring ghost stories in all of America. This is the spirit of Mary, a 12-year-old girl. She's said to have passed away very tragically in the 1920s, and it's kind of debated, but she was either struck by a car or collapsed during one of her performances. It's unclear, and people kind of go back and forth on this one. But since then, her presence has been felt throughout the theater for years. Staff describe hearing a little girl's laughter, also, the patter of footsteps in empty corridors, soft voices calling from the balcony, some laughter, stuff, just whatever you'd imagine a little girl doing in a theater at that time. Mary has been spotted also sitting in the audience at times, waving at performers, or just kind of drifting through the wings, which is not only distracting for the performers, but, the audience as well. Now, some describe her as very mischievous, tugging on costumes or humming softly during rehearsals. Paranormal investigators once recorded childlike giggles and actually saw very unusual energy kind of spike on their equipment, which is all kind of linked to Mary's balcony seat. Though she isn't considered a malevolent spirit, her sudden appearances unsettle even veteran actors and, goers at people that go watch performances. Stagehands claim to feel small little cold hands tugging at their clothes. Mirrors backstage usually reflect her fleeting figure, only for it to vanish when looked at directly, of course. Now, some say Mary is tied to a forgotten accident hidden in the theater's history, which was a secret that was never fully revealed. So, whether playful or tragic, her ghost has become a big part of the Orpheum's identity. Performers often say, that she's the theater's kind of permanent audience member, watching every single show from the shadows, refusing to leave, and maybe even cheering them on. The New Amsterdam Theater. This is the ghost in green. Now, she appeared in the still of the night, a woman in a shimmering green beaded gown gliding across the floor into darkness. Now, she was blowing a kiss and vanishing through a wall. That's what a night guard claimed he saw in the long-abandoned New Amsterdam Theater located in New York City. Now, the New Amsterdam Theater opened in 1903 as a Broadway jewel, but by the 1980s, it lay in ruins. Now, mushrooms grew on the walls, water flooded the floors, and the once golden ceilings rotted away and rusted. During restoration, in the 1990s, when the theater was nothing but a decaying shell, workers and guards began to see her, a glamorous figure carrying a small blue bottle. Many believe this is Olive Thomas, a Ziegfeld girl who passed away very tragically in Paris in 1920 after accidentally ingesting mercury bichloride. Now, the guard who reported her said she walked across the stage and actually just disappeared through a solid wall. When police searched, they found no one, but he quit days later because he was so terrified of the incident. Now, over the years, others have actually claimed to have seen her as well. Sometimes, curtains stir with no wind, footsteps are echoing through empty dressing rooms, and her figure appears in mirrors only to then vanish once approached. Now, the restoration uncovered hidden corridors, trap doors as well, and even bricked off rooms that were, long forgotten. Caretakers reported very cold spots in kind of, their old private duplex there where strange artifacts once sat. One said he actually heard chains rattling in a defunct elevator shaft, though that lift had been sealed decades earlier. Now, some staff believe Olive is playful, blowing kisses at actors and appearing during opening nights as if to bless or possibly curse a show. Bangor Opera House. Now, this is the firefighter and the little girl. Now, in Bangor, Maine, actors say they've seen a shadowy figure lurking in the balcony, even though no one should actually be there. Now, the Penobscot Theater Company, which operates out of the old Bangor Opera House site, is believed to actually be haunted by more than one restless spirit. Some allege maybe even as close to 10 or 20. The original opera house actually burned down to the ground in 1914, and legend actually has it and says that a firefighter passed away in that particular blaze. Now, his spirit is said to haunt the new building, pacing dark hallways at night and watching performances from the shadows. During one show, an actor actually said he noticed a figure in the upper balcony where no one was supposed to be seated at all, so that's spooky. Now, when they looked again after looking away, that spirit was then gone, of course. Now, backstage performers, tell of footsteps in empty hallways, doors locking and then unlocking on their own and being slammed shut, sinks turning the water on and off, and whispering voices calling calling out their names. One actress felt her costume kind of tug sharply, though she was alone in the dressing room. No one else was there, so who did it? Others have seen a young girl in a white dress wandering the corridors as well. Some actually describe her as transparent, gliding silently before fading away. Now, a group once said that they used a Ouija board in the theater and claimed they contacted both the firefighter and the little girl. You know, the mix of protective and unsettling energy has left performers very uneasy. Some don't even want to be there. They say every time they step on stage, they actually wonder who's really watching them from the dark. Theatre Royal. This is in Drury Lane, and this is the story of the man in gray and the hidden bones. Now, during renovations back in the 1800s, skeletal remains were discovered bricked up inside a wall at London's Theatre Royal in Drury Lane. Now, ever since, actors and actresses and audiences alike have spoken of the man in gray, one of the most famous ghosts in theater history, period. Now, he appears as an 18th century nobleman in a powdered wig, a hat, a cloak, and he's walking usually from the upper circle to a royal box before just vanishing into the very wall where bones were found. Witnesses describe him carrying a sword, his face very pale but also very serious, and many performers consider him a bad omen. Now, seeing the man in gray is said to guarantee a production success also. It's a little contradicting there, but also chills even the bravest of actors, so they're scared. Drury Lane's hauntings don't stop there though. Charles Macklin, an actor who once unalived a fellow performer in an argument, is said to still wander backstage, reenacting kind of his guilt. Now, the ghost of Joseph Grimaldi, the father of modern clowning, is also reported to appear there as well, though usually kind of in a friendlier manner, which is good. Now, whispers follow staff in dark corridors, doors open and slam shut on their own, and actors just feel, sudden drops in temperature, as if someone invisible has kind of brushed past them. Now, the discovery of human remains sealed behind the wall only deepened the theater's haunted reputation, and to this day, few doubt that Drury Lane is a stage for the living and the deceased. Holy Land USA in Connecticut. Now, this one isn't your typical amusement park. Holy Land USA was a massive biblical-themed attraction built in the 1950s, complete with miniature cities, altars, statues, and recreations of stories from the Bible. It once drew crowds of over 40,000 people a year, but when the creator passed away in the 1980s, the park was left to rot. What once felt holy now feels unsettling in a way that's kind of hard to describe. Miniature stone villages lie crumbling under overgrown, vines. Statues of angels and prophets stand cracked, decayed, and leaning at unnatural angles. I mean, the giant cross overlooking the property casts a very long shadow across pathways no one has walked in decades. Locals say the place becomes, terrifying at night. Explorers have reported hearing footsteps on gravel when no one is there. Some claim to have heard whispering near broken down altars. A few describe the feeling of being watched constantly, especially when walking through the miniature Jerusalem ruins. The energy isn't chaotic like other parks, it's quiet, but very heavy. It feels like something sacred was disturbed, and whatever is left behind doesn't want company at all. An assassination occurred on the grounds in 2010, deepening the park's unsettling reputation. Some believe the land absorbed the violence and that it kind of stirred something dark. Okpo Land in South Korea. Okpo Land is the kind of urban legend that turned out to be real, and what happened there is the stuff of nightmares. In the 1990s, Okpo Land was a very colorful, family-friendly amusement park, but one ride became infamous, a duck-shaped roller coaster. Rumor says a young girl passed away after a cart derailed. Whether the exact details were covered up or distorted over time, the fact remains several accidents happened, and one of them involved a child. Instead of shutting the ride permanently, the park reportedly kept operating. That decision turned Okpo Land into a cautionary tale and a very haunting one. When the park finally closed in 1999, workers simply just walked away. They didn't pack up rides, they didn't store equipment, they didn't even remove the derailed cart where the accident happened. Everything was just left exactly as it was, frozen in a moment of terror. Explorers who visited before it was demolished described eerie children's laughter echoing through the empty park. Some claim the the duck rides still made squeaking noises at random times, and others felt watched by something they just could not explain. Even though the park was eventually torn down, the legend of Oakland refuses to pass on. I mean, people say the spirits of the children who lost their lives there still remain, and that the land itself carries the memory of tragedy. So these abandoned amusement parks aren't just rotting tourist destinations, they're time capsules of tragedy, sorrow, and unresolved stories. When we see a Ferris wheel frozen in place, or a rusting roller coaster, or swings rocking in the wind with no one near them, it becomes impossible not to feel something watching. The Pripyat amusement park in Ukraine. Now, if there is one abandoned amusement park that feels like the world pressed pause right before disaster, it's the one in Pripyat. Now, the infamous Ferris wheel was supposed to be open for the very first time the day after the Chernobyl nuclear explosion, but the city was evacuated in a panic and the rides never had a chance to spin. Today, the entire park stands exactly as it was left: Ferris wheel cabins frozen in midair, bumper cars still parked as if waiting for the next round, rust eating through everything. But the weird part isn't what you see, it's what you feel. Visitors describe an atmosphere that is unnervingly heavy. Sound doesn't travel normally here, almost like the air itself is thick. Some people report the distant sound of creaking metal when the Ferris wheel moves slightly in the wind. Others claim they've heard faint echoes that resemble children laughing, even though the city has been empty for almost 4 decades. Radiation monitors sometimes spike unexpectedly near the rides. Some explorers have sworn they saw a figure standing behind one of the bumper cars, or movement in the windows of nearby abandoned buildings, only for it to vanish the moment they tried to look directly at it. The park is more than abandoned. It feels like a memorial frozen in time, a place suspended in its final moment. Spree Park in Berlin, Germany. The Ferris wheel at Berlin's abandoned Spree Park doesn't just stand abandoned, it moves. When the wind is strong enough, the entire wheel slowly turns on its own, creaking loudly through the forest that's grown up around it. And that sound, that's exactly what draws ghost hunters and explorers from around the world. Spree Park opened in 1969 and was once packed with families, rides, food stands, even elaborate themed sections. After the Berlin Wall fell, things changed fast. The park hit financial trouble, went bankrupt, and even shut down. But the strange part came after. The former owner, in desperation, used old amusement rides to smuggle narcotics across borders. Yes, actual amusement rides stuffed with illegal cargo. That bizarre criminal twist added a very dark lore to an already eerie place. After the park closed, nature took over aggressively. Roller coaster tracks are now tangled in vines, paddle boats sit half buried in swampy water, and animatronic dinosaurs lie collapsed like ancient fossils. Explorers often describe hearing footsteps behind them or feeling watched from inside broken ride buildings. Some even claim to hear faint carnival music at night, music the park hasn't played in decades. So Spree Park doesn't feel empty, it feels alert. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park in West Virginia. Now, before Lake Shawnee was an amusement park, the land was the site of a violent clash between settlers and the Shawnee tribe, a conflict that left several children deceased. When the park was built decades later, tragedy struck all over again. The people began wondering if the land itself was just cursed. From the 1920s to the 1960s, Lake Shawnee was a buzzing local attraction, but the demises didn't stop. A little girl in a pink dress passed away on the swing ride after a truck backed into it while she was still riding. 2 more children actually drowned in the park's swimming area. After multiple tragedies, the park shut down and people started asking questions. Today, the swing still stands and the Ferris wheel still towers above the trees, but the energy around them, completely unexplainable. Ghost hunters and investigators have called Lake Shawnee one of the most active paranormal sites in America. People report seeing a little girl in a pink dress near the swings. Some have captured EVPs of children laughing or crying. Others feel sudden cold patches of air even in the middle of summer. And some explorers say they feel like they're being followed. Every ride seems to have a story. Every inch of ground feels haunted by history and heartbreak. Bodie Ghost Town in California, USA. Visitors and park rangers have reported seeing ghostly figures, hearing disembodied voices, and experiencing really other strange occurrences. Settled by prosecutors lured by the California gold rush in the mid-1800s, Bodie became a booming mining town of fortune-hungry men, saloon balloon shootouts and brawls. Now, its fortune was short-lived, however, and by the 1890s, gold strikes elsewhere had drawn the crowds away, causing the population to dwindle. Now, frozen in time, this ghost town became a national historical landmark in the 1960s. Now, tourists, not miners, flock here to walk the deserted streets and admire the town's arrested decline. Varosha, Cyprus, now an urban museum of corroding classic cars, destroyed high-rise hotels, and shopfronts boasting the latest in 1970s fashion for the deserted Varosha Quarter in Famagusta City. Time froze in 1974. Now, following the Turkish invasion of Cyprus, Varosha's inhabitants were forced into a life of exile. Varosha has become a destination for very dark tourism, attracting visitors interested in exploring places with a somber or very tragic history, further contributing to its reputation as a place with a strong atmosphere. Once a favorite destination of the rich and the famous, people today can only peep through barbed wire as nature reclaims all of the buildings. Ryugyong Hotel in Pyongyang, now unoccupied, unopened, and never finished, and often called the Hotel of Doom or the Ghost Hotel due to its unfinished state and eerie appearance. This 105-story shell of the Ryugyong Hotel is a scar on Pyongyang's skyline and North Korea's pride. Construction on the hotel began in 1987, but stopped after 5 years due to just a lack of funds. Once proudly, emblazoned across North Korean stamps, this vacant hotel soon became airbrushed out of official photos. The Ryugyong was intended to be a symbol of North Korea's strength and architectural, prowess. Its failure to materialize as a functioning hotel has made it a symbol of the country's economic struggles and isolation. The hotel's imposing presence and mysterious history have led to it being featured in numerous articles, documentaries, even online discussions, fueling speculation and contributing to its haunted aura. Now, despite nearly 2 decades of abandonment, construction actually resumed in 2008, but whether the hotel will ever be completed is open to debate. San Juan, Michoacan in Mexico, beginning in 1943, successive eruptions of the Paracutan volcano slowly engulfed houses, streets, and livelihoods, masking all signs of life under a black cloak of molten rock and ash, leaving behind ruins, particularly the church, partially buried in lava and ash. Now, defiantly protruding from a desolate landscape of ash and lava, this church tower is all that remains of the devastated village of San Juan. Now, this makes it a site of historical interest and a stark reminder of nature's power, attracting visitors who find it both awe-inspiring and melancholic. Now, today, tourists drawn to this isolated ruin can marvel at the still intact, though vacant, altar inside. Now, the desolate and surreal landscape, combined with the story of a town buried by a volcano, evokes a sense of just melancholy and wonder and a little bit of haunted. Kalyazin, Russia, now boldly rising 75 meters above the waterline, the bell tower of the flooded St. Nicholas Church marks the site where the Russian town of Kalyazin once stood. When the Ulik Reservoir was created in 1939, the town was, purposely flooded, and the landscape was irreplaceably altered. Now, attracted to the simplistic beauty of the remaining, landmark, tourists visiting on boats can actually explore this enduring landmark of the sunken town, although many believe it is cursed and haunted, so they stay away just to be safe. ZKP Tagansky in Moscow, Russia. Now, since its declassification in 1995, Bunker 42 has drawn many visitors keen to delve into the secrets of the past. Some people who have visited find the bunker's dark underground environment and historical context has created a sense of unease or even eeriness, and many people have claimed to have felt a very off-putting presence that they can't seem to explain. Hidden 60 meters below the streets of Moscow lies, the ZKP Tagansky, also known again as Bunker 42. Now, it is a former Soviet secret military facility in Moscow and a 7,000 square meter space which once served as a secret Cold War's era communication center. Now, built in the 1950s, this vast complex was designed to withstand a direct nuclear attack and filled with enough supplies to stay running for months afterwards. Presidio Modelo in Cuba. Presidio Modelo in Cuba is known for its very harsh history as a prison, particularly during its use in the 1950s. The prison, with its panopticon design, housed many political prisoners, including Fidel Castro and his brother Raul. Empty since 1967, this prison still radiates desperation and paranoia. Commissioned in 1926 by dictator Gerardo Machado Dorado and inspired, by this model. It's oppressive architecture and designed to create a sense of constant invisible monitoring. Even though Fidel Castro was once an inmate here, under Castro's government, the prison's population ballooned to over 6,000 enemies of the state. Now, museum visitors can experience the forbidding atmosphere still present in these echoing corridors and vacant cells.